All right, well, chapter 5 is called The Boom Years, and this is a great chapter if you are ever in a place where maybe you find yourself struggling in your business as far as growth, or you find your team struggling with growth. This is a good thing to come back and revisit. So, what this is about focus and mindset. We want to focus on what we can control. It's so easy to get our focus on circumstances and things we really don't have any control about, but they kind of frustrate us. I get that way where I get so frustrated with things, and when I take a step back, I realize, you know what? I really can't control it anyways. I'm wasting all my time and energy on this thing or these qualities I have no control over. So once we realize this, and this was the opening quote in the book, it says, you can have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And there's a lot of truth to this because we can control our thoughts. God calls us to hold our thoughts captives. And we, a lot of times, out of our thoughts, we meditate on that, and then it takes root, and then it comes out of our mouth, whether we truly believe it or not. And we tend to look at things through certain perspectives, and we're going to find out a lot of how our thoughts can really dictate our attitudes, our leadership, and how we grow our teams. So all of you that are on here, even if you have one person, you are all leaders. You're a leader of your organization. The thing we have to remember is that you are the most focused person. You have to be. You can look at Kim and I as our upline, but if I kind of use Kim and be like, well, she's my upline, she's the leader of my team, and kind of use that excuse as to she has to be more focused than me. It's true to a certain extent, but I'm also a leader of my team. And then my level ones are leaders of their teams, and so on. And so that should really be trickled down. It's very easy to look at your upline as kind of a scapegoat and blame them for your team not growing, when in reality it's ourselves. And I want you to think about this. Don't look at the things you could focus on, but do the things you should focus on. It's very easy to take this business and be like, well, I could be doing this, this, and this. And really, we hardly ever do those things. The things we should be doing, those are the things we need to be putting our energy into. We need to focus our time, energy, and efforts on what's going to produce results. Now, I put on here YouTube videos because YouTube videos are a catch-22. A lot of times we use those as IPA, income producing activity, and we use those to inspire us and our teams, and we use those to kind of refuel that fire, but a lot of times it becomes something that we could be doing. We listen to all these ways we can grow our business, and yet we watch the video, and that's kind of where it stays. It stays up here in our mind. We never put action behind it. We never go into what we really should be doing as far as when we watch these. Somebody's not muted. We really need to make sure that when we're watching these videos, we're implementing them into our business, into our habits, because otherwise it's just a video. It's going to be for nothing. You need to find out what you can control and focus that. You can't control your team. You can't control who joins. You're going to think that you've signed rock stars, and they turn out not to be rock stars. You're going to think you signed somebody that doesn't want to work the business, and they end up being a rock star. You can't control people's habits. You can't control other people's mindsets, but you can control you and how you respond to these things. So when you think about this business, I kind of think about like you're in this field and there's all these weeds and plants that oftentimes block our vision and get us distracted. As leaders, we need to kind of peel away the weeds and like stick our head up so that we can see the big picture that we're going to. It's so easy to focus on what's like smack dab in front of us and see all the problems or see all of these little things that need to fall into place, when most of the time we need to kind of peel that back and look at that big picture that we're trying to see to lead our team there, to focus on how to get there. And it says here, I love this in the book, this business is like a ship's rudder. It's something that determines where the ship goes, which I think most of us have heard that, but the second part was really interesting. You control it. You control where the ship goes. The ship, it doesn't just aimlessly wander the seas. It has a captain behind it that is steering it, and it's taking it where it needs to go. The real challenge with our leadership isn't our circumstances. I mean, we can blame our circumstances. We can blame how busy life gets, but in the end, it's really up to us. It is us. I mean, we can blame our downline, we can blame our upline, we can say, I never had any help, you know, our busy schedule. We can blame everything, but the fact is, you know, it comes within us. Do we really want it as much as we say we want it? Or are we using these outside circumstances as excuses to justify our lack of action? So I want you to think about this after this video, and I want you to kind of evaluate yourself, evaluate your pitfalls, whether it be Netflix, whether it be your job, your circumstances right now. We all have stuff that we can easily say, I can't work the business right now. I want you to look at those and be honest with yourself and dedicate your time to change these circumstances. I mean, some of these we can't change. I mean, we have lives, we have jobs, we have certain things we just can't change. But that's where it says focus on what we can. We can focus our time management. We can change how we use our time. If we're spending, 5 hours succumbing to Netflix, watching a whole series, or we're playing Candy Crush, those things we can change. And I get messages all the time from people that are like, I don't understand why my business is not growing, and yet I get 5 Candy Crush requests. And it's like, well, instead of playing Candy Crush, why don't we work our business a little bit? We've got to be honest with ourselves. If your business is not growing, then we need to look at why. What are we not doing that we could be doing better? We can say that our life is terribly busy all we want, but the free time we have, are we using it wisely? And the truth of it is, it gets amplified. As you get up in rank and you grow a team and you gain leadership and your team looks at you, those things that you are doing, like Netflix, watching seasons of Netflix, are going to get amplified. So it's going to be harder to change. The other thing that we need to do, that I see a lot of, not just on our teams, but in life in general, I think, is stop focusing on the negative. It's so easy to be a complainer. It's so easy to speak up about what's not going right, about who is irritating who, what so-and-so is not doing right. I think about that even just in our relationships and in our marriage. It's so easy to look at your spouse and see his or her pitfalls when we ourselves have probably just as many. The thing we have to remember is, even though this is a business, it's people, and people are people. Our downlines are not perfect. Our uplines are not perfect. If you are a rock star and your upline hasn't been a leader yet, it's okay. he or she is probably learning. But the thing we have to remember is controlling our mouth. It is so easy to talk bad about your upline, your downline, your sideline, but you know what? It doesn't change the situation, and all it does is it sets that tone to whoever you're talking to, whether it's your downline, your upline, your sideline. It sets that tone. And even if, and I'm not talking about venting to your best friend or a trusted friend. I think there's a time and a place where we need to vent, but I'm talking about, you know, let's say you have an issue about somebody in your downline, and you're just that's all you're seeing is this issue. That's not going to change the issue. And what that's doing is painting a picture to the people you are talking to, and it filters what they see and what you see through this negativity. So all you're going to see is negativity. And when this person, if they do change or they do something good, you're not going to see that. And so we have to be so careful, not just talking, but just what we're seeing in our teams. You know, you have those people, you're going to have that customer that is determined Plexus is not going to work for them. I have had people, they have lost weight, they have slept better, they no longer have migraines, and they will be adamant that Plexus didn't work. And I'm like, did you not just tell me all of these amazing things? But they have this negative filter that they can't see that. All they see is it's not working, because it's not working the way they thought it would work. So we need to be cautious about that, because once you focus on that negative, that's all you're going to see. You're going to just see the mess ups, the things that are not going right. What you focus on grows, whether that's the good stuff or the bad stuff or whatever. That is the stuff that is going to grow. So I want to challenge you to energize your team, pour into them positively. Everybody's going to have downfalls. They're going to have things that they don't do right, but we want to look at the things that they do correctly. Remember a few chapters ago, focusing on your strengths. So my kids have watched Zootopia like every day this week, 2 to 3 times a day. But there's the very end of the movie where it talks about change and how they were watching it when I was doing this slideshow. And one of the things I liked is, it is so true. Change starts with you. You can hope and pray your upline, downline, sideline, husband, best friend, whoever changes, but in reality, it starts with you. And so I loved the Little Rabbit's little last monologue, so I'm going to play it. It's just a minute long. So hopefully you can hear it.
When I was a kid, I thought Zootopia was this perfect place where everyone got along and anyone could be anything. Turns out, real life's a little bit more complicated than a slogan on a bumper sticker. Real life is messy. We all have limitations. We all make mistakes, which means, hey, glass half full, we all have a lot in common. And the more we try to understand one another, the more exceptional each of us will be. But we have to try. So no matter what type of animal you are, from the biggest elephant to our first fox, I implore you, try. Try to make the world a better place. Look inside yourself and recognize that change starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with all of us.
Okay, so those of you know me know I'm a teacher. In huge letters across my entire room, it says, be the change you want to see in the world, because it is so easy to blame circumstances in other people for things that we cannot control. And I love that ending, how Judy the bunny is just like, change starts with us. And it's just a really great movie if you have not seen it. And it's a cute movie. So a big part of this, though, is focusing on what you can control, not focusing on what you cannot. It's so easy to focus on those things we really can't control. Like, let's say you're a big sports fan. I love the Dodgers. I can wear as much Dodger memorabilia as I can put on here in Texas. That does not help them win the game. You know, it does not help them. It cannot help them get past postseason and finally get to the World Series. I'm focusing my energy on something that really not going to help them at all. Might think it will, but it's not. So like I said, be the change you want to be in or see in that world. If you want to see your downline become more active, you need to become more active. If you want to see them participate more in the team pages, you need to be doing the challenges. There's a huge August challenge that Kim, Melissa, and I, and a few other Jules are teaming up to do. If you want to see your team do that, you need to do that. I'm going to be doing it with them, even though I know what it's about. I'm going to still be doing it because we will never reach a point where we're quote unquote too good for it, where we don't need it anymore. So you need to remember to work harder and smarter, not reinvent the wheel every single time. There is an easiness, so to speak, that comes into having an upline like Melissa, who has created so many amazing things to help grow your business. The problem is people tend to be attracted to their distractions, whatever it may be. But distractions, if you look at what the word means, distraction, it's places where we have no traction. We can think that we're multitasking or justify it really in any way that we want to, but when you are really truly honest about it, it's something that's not growing your business, and it is something that really has no traction. So think about this analogy. Planting a dead stick into the ground, watering it, fertilizing it, not going to make it grow. You cannot change people and force them to do what they don't want to do. What this means is, every month we talk about, how can I get these inactives back, or these people that fell off my team. The fact is, not every person that you're going to sign up is going to want to work the business. Every person that joins is not going to last the entire length of your Plexus career. You cannot put your focus on inactives. You can check in with them, but watering it, fertilizing it, encouraging them to come back, begging them to come back, helping train them, it is not going to cause them to grow. You can't change their reason why. You can't change their habits. They have to. They might be a phenomenal Plexus ambassador, but until they change some things, until they get fully committed, they're not going to be that. And sometimes they need to realize that. So this Apple logo down here, this is down here because the reason why Apple is so successful is because when they launched the iPhone, and I really hadn't heard of Apple until the iPod and iPhone came out. I know that they had like the old computers we used to play Oregon Trail on at school, but what really catapulted them above all of the other Android phones and made them capitalize it is they created a phone that the users wanted, not what they wanted, and they're forcing people to conform to. So by pouring your efforts into people that don't want to work this business, you're trying to conform them to be like what you want them to be, instead of finding people that want to do this business, who are, we had really never heard of apps before iPhones. Now they're everywhere. There's an app for an app, because that's what people wanted. Southwest Airlines is the #1 airline company. And the reason for that is because they modified their business plans for what their customers wanted. Their customers didn't want fees for changing flights. They didn't want fees for baggages, things like that. So by listening to that and not making people adapt to what they had and be like, well, this is how it is kind of thing, it attracted people, and it launched them into the #1 airline company. What does that mean for our business? Well, it means you're going to have people on your team who just joined to join something. I have a few on my team. They joined because they joined Plexus and 50 other network marketing companies at some point. They might come to meetings, they might be on Zooms, they might be here and there, they might even come to convention. But it's about that excitement, like they're there for that camaraderie. Plexus is so neat because we do feel like a family. I have a lot of ambassadors that they've gone to convention, they've gone to opportunity meetings, they've participated, but you know what? They just don't grow their team and have no desire to really do that, because they're here because they feel that belonging to. And I am okay with that. They are happy making friendships, but I'm also not going to invest in them knowing that I can't change where they're at right now. They are most likely never going to do anything major. They're not going to be your rock star. They're not going to be to diamond. And I can't change that. They are happy belonging to this community, and that is okay. That's what some people need, is this community. It's okay. So you can't just stay stagnant, though, and be like, well, I've got 10 people under me and only one of them wants to work the business. I'm going to focus on that one person. Yes, you should, but you don't just stay there. You don't just keep those 10 people. You keep bringing in new people and let those leaders rise to the top. These leaders may not be leaders right off the bat. Maybe they came here as wholesale customers and then, thought, hey, you know what? I want to kind of work this business, and they're going to gradually come up to the top. Those are the people you need to pour into. We don't need the people we have to do more. It's very easy to expect the people you have to do more, to challenge them to do this, to challenge them to do that. I used to do that. I used to be that person that was like, hey, let's do this, let's do that, when really these people I was talking to had no desire to do that, and were like, you know what, I don't want that. And a lot of them, it turned them off to the business because they didn't know. So instead of, forcing your people to conform, instead of making them be like an Android phone, we need to find more people that want to do it. We need to be looking for the iPhone people, if that makes sense. Nothing against Androids if you have an Android. But here's our focus. When you get down to it, our focus should be on recruiting. We should never stop recruiting. It's the important part of the equation to success. You never know who that rock star is. You should never stop talking to people about the business. You should never stop, as the leader of your team, trying to sign people. And this is really hit home. If you aren't continuing to bring on new people, then we are not growing. If we're not growing, then we're dying. It's very hard to stay stagnant. It's very easy to have that mentality, especially right now during the summertime. It's summer. I'm going to put my business on the back burner. It'll be here when I come back. Yes, it'll be here, but it's not going to be here like you left it. It's not going to be like it was at the beginning of summer. People are not going to have that same passion because you left and went on vacation. You cannot just put Plexus in the back burner and expect your team to grow. You cannot put Plexus on the back burner and come back after you've been gone for a month and pick up where you left off, if that makes sense. If you're not doing stuff to actively grow your team, then your team is going to slowly be declining. You cannot be upset at your upline or downline that you've gone backwards in points if you personally have not worked your business. It comes down to, what are you doing? It's very easy, like I said, to blame other people, blame your customers, blame whatever, but take an honest look. Have you been working your business like you used to? It may not appear like your business is, dying right now. I've had people say, well, it's still growing. I haven't been doing much, but I've been busy, but my team's still growing. Your team is not going to continue to grow with an absent leader. And there does come a point where maybe you do have a rock star. That rock star is going to pass you up because you're not continuing to grow your team. So think about this. Anytime you take your foot off the gas and try to coast, your business is going to start declining and dying. It may not happen overnight, depending on how big or small your team is. Where I'm at, I have a massive team. I could probably coast a lot longer, but you know what? I cannot coast forever. It's going to catch up to me. You can't just take a hiatus completely. It's one thing, to spend time with family, to sign off for a little bit, but even when we were in California for 2.5 weeks last year, I was still meeting. I was still working on the business. It may not have been on Facebook, but I was still working on recruiting. Momentum is a lot easier to lose than it is to build. And when you're going to start going down, meaning you've stopped working, you've put it on the back burner, be honest with yourself. When you've shifted, taken your foot off the gas, you're coasting, you have to fight a lot harder to rebuild that momentum. So don't be angry at your upline or downline that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I'm telling you right now. But it's worth it. It is so worth it. You're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I fought for this. That financial freedom or that health freedom, whatever it is. So I'm going to wrap it up with this momentum, the most powerful force in life and business. It is so true. So this week, I'm not going to give you the actual challenge in the book. I'm going to let Kim do that since she's doing the second half. I want you to focus this week on what you personally can control. Change your mindset and start each day with a positive affirmation. If that is I like starting my day off with praise and worship on Hillsong Young and Free on Pandora. It just gets my mind in the right place. Some people have their affirmations posted on their walls, on their mirrors, wherever. You can change, like something I always say in my house, you can choose to react to something or you can choose to respond to something. A lot of times our reactions, we don't think about it. We snap at somebody. We are harsh with our words. If we respond, that means that we've had time to think about that and we can change what our perspective is on that situation. So work on growing your team this week also by one person, you personally sponsoring, not one person in your downline. You personally, I'm going to work on this too. Work on growing your team by one person this week. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.